أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back, brothers and sisters. This is the final part for our discussion of this great act of worship in Islam, which is Al-Hajj. Yeah, and we've covered quite a bit. We're almost towards the end. But because we didn't have time last session, we're kind of doing a special session today, inshallah. And we'll also have a Q&A after this. If you have any questions, we can look at that, inshallah. So we looked at all of these points, alhamdulillah, so far. We looked at how we prepare, and we said the most important thing for preparation is Tawheed. Definition of Hajj, the ruling is what? Is that it is Fard and Wajib as long as someone is capable to do that. Yes, Titat. If he has the capability, it becomes obligatory upon him or her. And we saw the virtues of Hajj in terms of Hajj Mabrur, and the one acceptable to Allah is that the person comes back from Hajj as if he is born from the womb of his mother. Yeah, and we looked at the conditions, and we said the person should be a Muslim. So these shurut and conditions should be satisfied before a person can go for Hajj, or before it becomes valid or obligatory upon him or her. So Islam, Aql, puberty, adulthood, yeah, sanity, being sane, being a free person, not being a slave. There is no Hajj for a slave, yeah, unless his master allows him, of course. Capability, we talked about this, physical and financial capability. And finally, we looked at that the sisters need to have a mahram companion and a mahram adult companion for any journey, not only for Hajj, anything which is deemed as travel, anything which is in the society known as a travel, a sister needs a mahram, male mahram. We looked at the pillars of Hajj, which are simple and four, but very important ones. We said these are Ihram, standing in Arafah, Tawaaf Ifadah, or Tawaaf Hajj, Tawaaf Ziyarah, all similar names. And finally, the Sa'i. Yeah, in terms of obligations, and we said if you miss a pillar, what happens? If you miss a pillar, your Hajj is null and void. You need to, of course, go through the proceedings, but you need to make it up as soon as possible, preferably the following year, because that Hajj is invalid because you missed a pillar. Or you go back and make the pillar if there's still time. If there's still time, you can go back and make the pillar, because some of these pillars have a time period associated with them, like standing in Arafah. Barakallahu fikum. So if there's time, you can go back and make them. Alhamdulillah. Wajibat, we looked at wajibat, which are 7 wajibat, and we said ihram from miqat, standing in Arafah until sunset, staying in Muzdalifah in the night, staying the nights in Mina, which are the nights of Tashreeq. We're going to discuss that. Storing the Jamarat, shaving or cutting the hair, and finally the farewell tawaf. And we said there are 3 types of Hajj. There is Tamattu, Qiran, and Ifrad. And we discussed briefly these. We'll continue today, inshallah. And we said in the cases of Tamattu and Qiran, you have to sacrifice what we call a hadi. Yeah, we call a hadi a sacrificial animal of the anam category. So sheep, goats, cow, 1/7 of a cow, or you can have a share of 1/7 in a camel, and so on. The hadi is also required if you miss a Hajj wajib. We talked about this. If you miss a wajib, you don't have to go back and make it up. You don't have to repeat the Hajj. But you have to do sacrifice, which is called hadi, and distribute the meat within Makkah, and you cannot eat from it. And you have to sacrifice in Makkah. Or also it's lazim if you do any ihram restriction. So if any ihram restriction is done, it becomes lazim. Barakallahu fikum. And finally, the other type of animal which you will sacrifice is for the non-Hajjis, the people not going on Hajj. They will do what we call the udhiyah on Eid al-Adha. Barakallahu fikum. Then we looked at the method. We talked about the various locations which are important for a Hajji, like Mina, where you have a sea of white tents. Arafah, where you will be there only for one day in the whole year. Only one day in the whole year, it is jam-packed. Again, a lot of tents there. You have the masjid, you have Namira, you have the Jabal Rahma, the mountain of mercy. Muzdalifah, we talked about this. stoning of the Jamarat. We'll look at that today, inshallah. And finally, of course, you will go Tawaaf, Sa'i, or all these things in the Haram. Barakallahu fikum. And we said what is uttered as a sunnah in Ifrad, you will say Labbaik Labbaik Hajjan, or Allahumma Labbaik Hajjan. Yeah, because there is no sacrifice in this. In Ifrad, there is no sacrifice. But Kiran and Tamattu, you have Hadi, you have sacrifice. And Kiran, you will say Labbaik Umratan wa Hajjan. So you're merging the Hajj and the Umrah, and one Tawaf, one Sa'i is sufficient for you. Like the Ifrad, pretty much similar. And finally, Tamattu, where you distinctly do an Umrah, you exit, and then again you do the Hajj and you exit. So these are two acts of worship in Tamattu. Yeah, you say Labbaik Umratan, the Miqat if you want to start off, we talked about this. Or you can say also the both combined, one Sunnah Talbiyah for everything, like Allahumma Labbaik Umratan Mutmatain Biha ila al-Hajj. So this is also possible. We talked about Hajj Badal also last session, and also sometimes you are prevented or you fear that there is a potential of you being stopped, and this is what you can say. Barakallahu fikum, and this will avoid you the fidya. We looked at the Miqat, the various points of Miqat around Makkah from different directions, and as you can see, they're all not at the same radius. They have different radii. Barakallahu fikum. We talked about Ihram. We said this is not the clothes you wear or the two pieces of white unstitched garments. No, this is the intention, the niyyah of entering the state of Hajj or Umrah, whatever it may be. This is called Ihram. This is called Ihram, yeah. And in this, there's certain things you can do, mustahab things like ghusl and stuff like this, and certain things you cannot do. We talked about this as well, the restrictions of of Ihram. And if you do that restrictions, if you cut your hair, cut your nails, you give what is called the Ada, which is like fasting 3 days, or feeding 6 poor Muslims, or sacrificing in Makkah, like the Wajib, the Hadi, you sacrifice in or a sheep or 1/7 of a cow or a camel. So we started looking at this. We looked at before 8th of Dhul Hijjah. 8th of Dhul Hijjah is the main day, when the Hajj rituals start. So before this, ideally, the pilgrims doing Ifrad and Qiran would have finished their Tawaaf Qudum, which is the welcoming Tawaf or the beginning Tawaf, you can say. This is Sunnah, brothers. This is Sunnah. If you miss it, it is fine. And they will do the Sa'i for Hajj. Even the Sa'i for Hajj, if you want to delay it and do it later on, after Tawaaf Ifadah, that is also fine, inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Right? This for Qiran and Ifrad. For the ones doing Tamattu, you will finish your Umrah completely. There is Umrah and then there is Hajj. So you'll completely finish your Umrah, Tawaf, Sa'i, and so on, and exit from the Umrah. And then on 8th Dhul Hijjah, before Dhuhr, you will get into Ihram again. Whereas Qiran and Ifrad, they will remain in their Ihram. They will not remove. They will remain in their Ihram. Right? To complete the rituals of Hajj. So bear in mind, Tawaaf al-Ifadah, Tawaaf al-Hajj, Tawaaf al-Ziyarah, all same names, is what is the pillar. But Tawaaf al-Qudum is Sunnah. It's better to do it, but if you miss it, it's fine, inshallah. Barakallahu fikum. Type. So we said on 8th, which is the Yawm al-Tarwiyah, the Hajjis, the Hujjaj will come to Mina. All of them will flock at Mina, inshallah, and ideally before noon, before Dhuhr. In Rasulullah would come in at Duha, mid-Duha. So the mid-morning, mid-forenoon time, Duha time, yeah. But it has to be before Dhuhr, inshallah, yeah. And you will be in your Ihram now. So the Qiran, Ifrad will continue. Tamattu will come back into their Ihram for Hajj. Labbaik Allahumma Hajjan, they will say, and they will come back into their Ihram for Hajj. Tamattu. And then you will start being in Mina, and you will pray, like we said, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, 4 of that day, and you will shorten them and pray at their time. So Dhuhr at its time, Asr at its time, but shortened. Maghrib at its time, 3 rakat, and Isha at its time, but shortened. And you will spend the night in Mina. The next morning, 9th Dhul Hijjah, you will pray Fajr, and then you will depart to Arafah. We talked about this. And you will stay there, inshallah, at least until sunset. That is the Sunnah, and that is from the Wajib. Yeah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam stood in a place called Namira, just outside Arafah, where today there is a masjid, just outside Arafah, until Dhuhr, until noon, and then he moved into Arafah. And he stood at the mountain and he raised his hands, he did supplications. The whole time should be spent in dua. That is why we shorten Dhuhr and Asr and join them. And there is a khutbah and then the salawat. Someone asked me a question, right? I think last time. So there is a khutbah, and then there is 2 rakat dhuhr and 2 rakat asr. So 1 adhan and 2 iqamat. And make sure you stay under the boundary or within the boundary of Arafah. And the most important act you can do on this day is dua, because of the hadith we mentioned last time. And after sunset, you will not pray Maghrib, you will leave. You will leave towards Muzdalifah. You will leave towards Muzdalifah. This is the night of the 10th. Night of the 10th. You will leave towards Muzdalifah, and you need to pray Maghrib and Isha joined and shortened in Muzdalifah. Jama wa Qasr in Muzdalifah. Right? And you will spend the night there. You will make dhikr, askar, Quran, and you need to sleep. Sleeping on this night is sunnah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he slept, because the next day, as we are going to start now, inshallah, has a lot of activities. So you need the strength, right? But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he allowed the elderly, the women, the people who were sick, to leave at around midnight, not to get caught in the rush towards Mina. But the others, they stay back till in Muzdalifah. They pray Fajr. They pray Fajr. They collect 7 pebbles for stoning on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, stoning the Jamarat, and they move towards Muzdalifah. And these pebbles, brothers and sisters, which you collect, should be of small size, like the pea size, the lentils, or the peas, small one, not big, huge rocks. Yeah. So it has to be a small size. You can collect 7 only. You don't have to collect 21, 48. No, only 7 for the first stoning. The other pebbles for the other days of stoning, you collect in Mina itself. It's okay, inshallah. Barakallahu feekum. Tayyib. Jazakumullah khair. So now, alhamdulillah, so on 10th Dhul Hijjah, so you prayed Fajr in Muzdalifah and you left towards Mina. Barakallahu feekum. You have to do 5 acts basically. See, that's why you need to sleep. You need to get a good rest on that night. Because that day of the day of 10th Dhul Hijjah, which is also called Yawm al-Nahar, Yawm of Sacrifice, as a day of sacrifice, you will have to do 5 acts of worship. 3 out of them, if you do, is also okay. You need to do at least 3, so you can exit from the first release of the Ihram. We'll talk about that. The other 2 you can postpone to the following days. If you want to do 5 all on the same day, ahlan wa sahlan, it's possible. But it's difficult with all the rush and the various things you will do. So usually the Hujjaj, they do 3, and then the 2 on the other day. So what is ideally the first thing you will do, ideally, is stoning of Jamarat Aqabah. Jamarat Aqabah, brothers and sisters, is the furthest Jamarat from Mina. So Mina is on your right, you're walking. Yeah, you will skip the first 2 pillars. You will move on to the last pillar, which is closest to Makkah. And this is called Jamarat Aqabah, the furthest Jamarat. You will stone this 7 times. You will raise your hand, say Allahu Akbar with each throwing. Okay, Allahu Akbar with each throwing 7 times. And making sure these pebbles fall into the hawd or the basin. It doesn't necessarily have to hit the pillar, because initially, if you look at the old pictures, or if you're old enough, the Jamarat before was just a pillar of very small diameter, not like the ones you have today. This has been greatly expanded because of the stampede which happened and everything. And it didn't have this basin around it, this collecting a pool around it. Yeah, this bottom thing was not there. It was just a small diameter pillar, round pillar. But now it's been expanded. So it doesn't have to hit the pillar. If you hit it, it's fine. If you don't hit, but as long as the stone falls into the basin, into this bottom collecting thing, that's fine, inshallah. You have done your Rami, the stoning of the Jamarat. 7 times, saying Bismillah with the first, and then Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar for each and every throwing. That's it. That's all you need to do. You will not do the first 2 on 10th of Dhul Hijjah. And then, we said we have 5 acts, so act number 1 is finished. Act number 2, if you can go and sacrifice your hadi. If you can do it yourself, fantastic. This will take time, but if you appoint someone else, delegate someone else to do it for you, this is also inshallah permissible. The third act, which you ideally would do, is cutting or shaving your hair. Now shaving is, alhamdulillah, better and more virtuous. You remember we said in Tamattu, the ones doing Tamattu, after Umrah it's better to cut, because you need some hair to shave now, right? Don't shave then, because then you won't have, your head will be bald and you can't do anything. You can't shave anything off it, right? So otherwise, so now you will shave. You will shave your head all across, or you can also cut. It's allowed. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he made dua for the Sahaba radiallahu anhum who shaved their hair. He made 3 times dua for them for Jannah, and once for the people who cut their hair. Barakallahu fikum. So you know, shaving is more virtuous, right? Can I swap this order? Yes, you can swap, no problem. Because you have a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the Sahabi came to him and said, Ya Rasulullah, I sacrificed first, and then I went for Tawaf, and then I did this. He said, okay, no problem, no issues. Another Sahabi came and said, Ya Rasulullah, I did Jamarat first, then I shaved, then I sacrificed. He said, no issues. Another Sahabi came and said, Ya Rasulullah, I made Tawaf first, then Jamarat. He said, no issues. So this is a blessing and a flexibility which Allah has provided for us on this day. Because if you can imagine, brothers and sisters, if 3 million Muslims or 3+ million are moving from exactly the same order, it will be a huge crowd control problem. So this flexibility of swapping between the orders is a blessing for us. So once you do 3 out of 5, we're coming to the other 2 inshallah. Once you do 3 out of 5, you have what we call the first release from Ihram. Okay? So you are in Ihram now, yeah? All of you, Kiran, Tamattu, Ifrad, all were in Ihram. So once you finish 3 out of 5, any 3 out of 5, you have exited the first exit from Ihram, which means now everything is halal for you, like cutting nails, pulling hair, it's all okay, except approaching the spouse, except sexual relations. Everything else is halal for you. Wadaa. The other things which you need to do is Tawaaf Ifadah. This is the pillar. Remember, it's a pillar. It's a rukun. This Tawaaf Hajj, Tawaaf Ziyarah, whatever you call it. Yeah. And you will do Sa'i. The Sa'i of Hajj. Sa'i of Hajj. Sa'i has to be after Tawaf. It can't be before Tawaf. Wadaa. Now this Tawaaf Ifadah, the scholars have said, as we said earlier, you can delay it to the 11th day, the 12th day, even the 13th day, if you wish, of Dhul Hijjah. This is permissible. And with respect to stoning, let's say somebody is sick, or some sister is not well, or something like this, or there's some young children doing Hajj. They can delegate, and they can't do their own stoning. They are old people or wheelchairs and stuff like this. They can delegate someone else to do their stoning. They can delegate someone else, let's say the husband, he does the stoning for himself and the wife. But the husband has to stone first himself, for himself. So he takes 14 pebbles, he stones 7 himself first, for himself with the niyyah, and then a badal for his wife. Saying Allahu Akbar. He doesn't have to say, I'm stoning Fulan for my wife. No, at this point, no. He just stones 7 for his wife, but first he does it for himself. Wadaa. So these are the 5 acts you would be doing. Again, stoning of the Jamarat Aqabah, sacrifice, hadi, shaving or cutting of the hair, Tawaaf Ifadah, and Sa'i of Hajj. Sa'i of Hajj. Yeah. Again, the order can be swapped, so you can even do Tawaaf Ifadah first. So let's say you want to avoid the rush, you go straight away to Makkah from Mina, from Muzdalifah. You came from Muzdalifah, you left straight to Mina. Sorry, straight to Makkah. And you made Tawaaf Ifadah. That's fine, no problem, inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Then you made your Sa'i, fantastic. Then on the way back, you stoned 1 Jamarat and you came home. No problem. So you didn't cut your hair, and you didn't shave your hair, and you didn't do the sacrifice. Because the slaughterhouse is packed, you didn't do your sacrifice. So now you can remove your clothes, ihram clothes, you can wear normal clothes, you can have a bath, you can cut your hair, cut your nails, but you cannot approach your spouse. You cannot approach your spouse until you finish the other 2 acts, which were shaving and sacrifice. Barakallahu fikum. Once you finish all the 5 acts, now this is the second release from the ihram. Now you're completely halal. Now you can also approach your spouse. Barakallahu fikum. Because this happens sometimes, brothers ask this question that they forget to do Tawaaf Ifadah, they've gone back to Maslan Riyadh or Dammam or wherever they came from. What to do? Yeah, what to do? What to do is a pillar. It's a pillar. They have to go back to Makkah and finish Tawaaf Ifadah. They have to go back. It's a pillar. And they have to make sure they don't approach their spouse in this duration. because they're still not exited Ihram completely. Only the first exit is finished. You see the problem? Barakallahu feekum. But we have this flexibility. You can delay two of these acts to the 11th, 12th, and 13th. No problem, inshallah. Type some points on the Jamarat stoning. Okay, generally across on 10th, also 11th, 12th, and 13th. Same points apply. Many Muslims think that they're hating the shaitan. This is a misconception. You're doing an act of worship as commanded to us by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Khudu anni manasikakum. That's it. Period. There is no shaitan there. You're stoning a pillar. Barakallahu feekum. If you want to really stone the shaitan and get rid of the shaitan, stone and get rid of the shaitan in our heart. We're carrying him with us everywhere. Willfully disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what we need to stone. Not a pillar and thinking it's shaitan. No. Yes, this is a sunnah. It's an act of worship we are doing. Barakallahu feekum. This is important. Because what happens, people think that's shaitan standing there in front of them, and they have three of them, mashallah. And they start taking big rocks and standals and stones. And I mean, you've all seen this. Umbrellas, luggage. These days they prohibit luggage, but in those days they used to have in luggage. People used to carry luggage with them. Throwing the pieces of luggage at the stone, they get very emotional and carried away. You are the one who deviated me. You are the one who did this. Exactly the same thing that we will say on the Day of Judgment. Allah says in the Quran, meaning of which is that on the Day of Judgment, the people will go to Shaitan Iblis and they will say, you were the one who deviated us, who led us astray. What will Iblis say? Subhanallah. What will Iblis say? Iblis will say, I fear Allah. Iblis will say, I fear Allah. And he will say, verily I did not do anything except whisper to you. It was you who followed up on my whispering, who obeyed me and followed me. So it's your fault. Iblis will wash his hands off you. You see? So anyway, so these are some common errors. We see them almost literally every Hajj. Yeah. Pushing and shoving for the Rami. This is again should be avoided. But of course, I think this year, alhamdulillah, it will be quite safe. You will not have any pushing and shoving because there's only like 60,000 Hujjaj. And make sure you don't throw all your pebbles at once. So you can't say, Allahu Akbar to the power of 7 and throw it, or Allahu Akbar into 7 and throw it. No. Each pebble is Allahu Akbar. So if you throw, what happens, Ustad, if I throw all the pebbles at once, you have thrown only once. If you take all the 7 and throw it at one throwing, you have thrown only once. You need to go and pick up 6 more pebbles from somewhere, come back and throw the balance 6. Barakallahu feekum. So make sure you throw one of them and make them small. Don't make them huge. Yeah? Type. Next, we move on to the last section or the penultimate section, which is the 11th and the 12th and the 13th of the Hijjah, which are called famously Tashreeq. Tashreeq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, meaning of which is these are the days for eating and drinking and remembering Allah. So it is not allowed to fast on these days, even for the Hujjaj. Eating, drinking, and remembering Allah. 11th, 12th, and 13th. Tashreeq. It's spent eating, drinking, and remembering Allah. Dhikr Allah. Thanking Allah for His blessings. So what will you do on these 3 days? Simple and easy. Remember, you finish your acts of on 10th Dhul Hijjah, Yawm al-Nahar. All the 5 are done, or maybe 2 are pending. Yeah. But you have removed your ihram clothes now. You're now wearing normal clothes. So you're wearing a shirt, a pant, a jeans, whatever. Yeah. Suit, I don't know, thobe, whatever. Yeah. So now on 11th and 12th and the 13th, this act is common across the 3. What is this? What will you do? You will come from this, on the right side is Mina. So you're coming from Mina, from your camp, from your tent. You will first stone Jamarat al-Sugra, the small Jamarat. Same way, 7 times, 7 pebbles, with each pebble, Allahu Akbar. Then you will move on to Jamarat al-Wusta, the middle Jamarat, and stone again 7 times, saying Allahu Akbar with each Rami. And finally, you will go to the last Jamarat, close to Makkah, furthest from you, Jamarat Aqabah, and now stone again 7 times, with each stoning, each Rami, Allahu Akbar. Which means what? You need to have 7 into 3, 21 pebbles with you. Sorry, 21 pebbles with you. And if you're stoning for someone else as well, your wife, your son, your father, whatever, you need more than that. Because they couldn't come for the stoning for whatever reason, then you need, excuse me, more than that. Barakallahu feekum. But what is it that we need to do? And make a note of here. You will stone, okay, it's also called your al-Qarr, which is the settling, because now you're settled in Mina. You finish the acts of worship on 10th, you sacrifice, alhamdulillah, you're going to stay, you're muqim, you're going to do qiyam, you're settling down in Mina for 2 or 3 days, 11th and 12th, or 11th and 12th and 13th. So it's called Yawm al-Qarr. So you will stone, excuse me, after Zawal. This is important, very important. You will find some people giving fatwas, no problem, it is too crowded. Some shuyukh saying this, you can say you can go before Zawal, no problem. No, this is a problem. This is a big problem. Rasulullah Sunnah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that you stone after Zawal. You never stoned before Zawal, not in the Sahaba radhiyallahu anhu. So you have to make a point to stone after Zawal. And you have the whole day with you. The evening, you can stone in the evening, you can stone at 10 p.m. in the night, no problem, inshallah. You want to beat the rush, no problem, inshallah. But after Zawal, after the sun moves away from the, the what do you call, the vertical overhead, it just shifts away, that's Zawal, right? So you will stone first Jamarat al-Sugra 7 times, then you will walk towards, in a calm and nice manner, walk towards Jamarat al-Wusta. You will stop between them, approximately, somewhere in between them. You will face the Qibla, which will be ideally towards your left. Face the Qibla, raise your hands and make dua. This is the sunnah of Rasulullah. Any dua which you wish. Raising your hands. Then you will walk towards the middle Jamarat, stone 7 times. Then again walk towards the Jamarat Aqabah, stop midway or somewhere in the middle, face the Qibla, raise your hands and make dua. This dua is only on the 11th, 12th and 13th. The stoning which you did on 10th, there is no dua. Barakallah. You just go straight away to Jamarat al-Aqabah, stone and you leave. That's it. But on 11th, 12th and 13th, you will make dua midway, facing the Qibla, raising your hands. Barakallah fikum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran has permitted the pilgrims to leave after 12th if you wish. So if you wish, after 12th Dhul Hijjah, you can go back. But make it a point to leave before Maghrib. If you happen to stay after Maghrib, khalas, you have to now stay the 13th and also stone the 13th and then leave. Barakallahu feekum. So make it a point to leave before Maghrib. Right? After everything is finished, whether you're leaving on 12th or on the 13th, whichever day you decide to leave, the last action which you need to do before leaving Makkah is what we call the farewell tawaf, or Tawaaf Ifadah. The last action. You should not do anything else after this. So you finish this, go sit in your bus, go sit in your plane, your car, and you leave. That's it. Yes, you can buy some stuff. You want to buy a snack or something to take on you with the journey. That's permissible. But you don't stay for a long time after Tawaaf al-Wadaa. It's the last action. It's called a farewell Hajj. Sorry, farewell Tawaf. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said this should be the last action before you leave. Everybody does this. Everybody does this, including residents of Jeddah. Well, there is a common misconception that if I'm staying in Jeddah, I don't do this. No, you have to do this. Right? You have to do this. You can combine, the scholar said, you can combine your Tawaaf Ifadah with Tawaaf al-Wadaa. If you have delayed your Tawaaf Ifadah for some reason, the one you were supposed to do on 10th, if you have delayed it for some reason, you can combine it with 2 intentions with 1 Tawaf. 1 Tawaf with 2 intentions. This is permissible. Wallahu a'lam. The only exception Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave was for sisters, as in the case we saw last time, I think, about al-Mu'mineen Safiya radiallahu anha. When she was with Rasulullah in this Hajj, she had her cycles or periods before this Tawaf. So Rasulullah said, it's okay, we can leave. Right? So this is the only exception we have, that if a sister comes into her periods, then she's allowed to, she also is exempted from Tawaaf al-Wadaa. But everybody else has to do it. Every Haji has to do it. And make it the last action you would do before leaving. Barakallahu feekum. Also the sisters with nafas, postpartum bleeding as well. That's your Hajj. Alhamdulillah. Ala kulli hal. So this is just a reminder of the pillars, which we said. Yeah, and a reminder of the wajibat. And if you miss a wajib, you give the dam, you give the hadi. If you miss a pillar, you have to repeat the pillar. If you have completely lost it, you have to go back and do it. Time. Many people believe that, Hajj is not complete without going to Medina. And, giving your salams and praying 40 salawat and what have you. All these are not from the Sunnah. Your Hajj is to Makkah. There is no Hajj to Medina. Barakallahu fikum. There is only Hajj to Makkah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not go from Medina to Makkah, finish his rituals, and come back to Medina and do some other rituals. No. Your Hajj is only to Makkah. That's it. So this concept of, I have to go to Medina. If you go, alhamdulillah, it's good. But it's not that you have to go. So if the niyyah is that, without Medina, my Hajj is incomplete, this is a problem. Or to say, I have to pray 40 salawat in Medina. No, this is also a problem. Barakallahu fikum. Jazakumullah khairan. That was what we had for you. If you have any questions, you can post them on the chat box or you can raise your hands. But I just want to quickly look at some questions which we had from last two sessions. One of them was asked by this person that is Qurbani or the Udhiyah fard or Sunnah. So it is Sunnat Muakkada. There is a difference of opinion. Imam Abu Hanifa and his followers say that it is fard. But all the other Imams, Malik, Hanbali, Shafi, they all say it is Sunnah. The correct opinion, inshallah, it is Sunnat Muakkada, something which Rasulullah never missed. Like the Turah, Sunnat of Fajr, the Witr, never missed. Barakallahu fikum. I hope you can see my screen. Okay, the other question was, the same person asked me this question. I don't think the person is there today as well. I'm not sure. I didn't do this last session because the questioner was not there. But I don't see the person today either. So anyway, let me answer it. I can't keep it pending. So the question was, the Prophet ﷺ said, who does not give Qurbani or Udhiyah should not come near my masjid. The hadith is whoever can afford it, the Udhiyah, but does not sacrifice. Let him not come to our prayer place. So this hadith is Hassan from Sheikh Al-Albani. Hassan is acceptable. Sorry, excuse me. So this is the full hadith. So whoever can afford it. So if you have the money, you can afford it, and don't sacrifice it, let him not come near the masajids. But the scholars of hadith, they say this does not mean you don't pray, no, or don't come to the masjid, no. It is to give you the kind of a warning that if you have money, sacrifice. But it is not fard. If you have money, it is good to sacrifice. It's like kind of a warning Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was giving. Barakallahu fikum. Taib. When is Tawaaf Ifadah need to be done before the end? We discussed this. So Tawaaf Ifadah, Tawaaf al-Hajj is to be done on 10th Dhul Hijjah. It can also be delayed even up to and combined with Tawaaf al-Wadaa. Can we use olive oil, coconut oil, or ointment for rashes that appear on the skin or thighs? Inshallah, yes, you can in Ihram. This is what I mean. I think you mean in Ihram. You can, but make sure it's not perfumed because some of these oils are perfumed. So avoid that. If it's non-perfumed, yes, you can inshallah use it, right? But if it's perfumed and you have to use it, it's a very serious issue. Then you have to give them. Barakallahu fikum, because you have made a restriction of Ihram. Can the arrival Tawaaf al-Qudum, and Tawaaf Ifadah be merged while performing Umrah? This is, when we say Tawaaf al-Qudum for Ifrad and Qiran, right? So let's say Qiran, for example. Qiran and Ifrad, they will do only one Tawaaf, one side. One Tawaaf, one side. And this is for the Hajj. In Qiran, the Hajj and Umrah is merged. We talked about it, it's merged together. So if you're doing Tawaaf al-Qudum, this is Sunnah. You need to do Tawaaf al-Ifadah as well later on. You can combine the two, inshallah. But keep in your mind, when you combine it, you're doing the intention, the niyyah, is you're doing the Tawaaf of Hajj, or Tawaaf al-Ifadah, not Tawaaf al-Qudum. That should be the intention. Barakallahu fikum, wallahu alam. Since this time they are not allowing us the Hajj Tamattu, I have no idea about this. Can you brief on Hajj Qiran? We talked about Hajj Qiran, alhamdulillah. If you're going on 7th day of Hajj, of Dhul Hijjah, and they are not allowing us to perform Tamattu, and there is restriction on Sa'i also, can we perform Umrah with the intention of Hajj Qiran? Or it is better to go for Ifrad? See, it depends on your intention. If you know they're not going to allow you for Tamattu, don't make Tamattu intention. See, if you know beforehand, before you leave, that because of coronavirus and all this COVID and stuff like this, they're not going to allow Tamattu, don't make the intention of Tamattu. Why are you making the intention of Tamattu? Make the intention of Qiran or Ifrad. Both are okay, no problem. Again, in both, you will do only one Hajj and one Sa'i. Sorry, one Tawaf and one Sa'i. You may do the Sunnah Tawaf al-Qudum, but you have to do Tawaf of Ifadah. Barakallahu fikum. So don't make the intention of Tamattu, make intention for Qiran or Ifrad. Barakallahu. But you can change intention midway. You can. This, Aisha radhiyallahu anha, she did this. Rasulullah asked her to change her intention when she came into her cycles before they entered Makkah. She had the intention of tamattu, but she had her periods. So Rasulullah said, change your intention to Qiran, because she had a sacrifice. Change your intention to Qiran. This is permissible. But in this case, if you know beforehand, don't do that. Just go with Qiran or Ifrad, depending if you want to sacrifice or not. Can we change ihram clothes if it's dirty? Yes, of course, you can change your clothes. You can wash the ihram clothes. You can iron them. You can, no issues, absolutely no issues. It's always better to carry a spare or two spare. So if you're washing one and it's drying, you can, you're in the other ihram pair. Can we use normal towel to dry ourselves after taking shower? Yes, yes. In ihram, you can have a bath. You can wipe yourself, dab yourself, use towels, no issues, absolutely. Use toothpaste, absolutely no issues. But be careful not to pull hair intentionally out. Yeah, barakallahu, be careful of that. When is khutbah delivered? Before salah or after? Yeah, we said on Yawm al-Arafah, khutbah is before the Dhuhr and the Asr combined. Yeah. If you have a wet dream in the state of ihram, what we need to be done? Whatever you do normally. If you have a wet dream, what do? Ghusl. So go make ghusl and come back. That's it, inshallah. Barakallahu fikum. And if there is any money, any sperm on the ihram, yeah, this is pure. No problem. You just wash it off or wipe it off. That's okay, inshallah. Because money is pure. Sperm is pure. Tahir. But the madhi, the other secretions which come out before, after, along with this is impure. Right? Or you can change your ihram clothes if you're that much in doubt. You can change it and wash this one. But you do ghusl. You have to make ghusl. Otherwise you can't pray, right? Only the fard salah need to be shortened. Can person pray rest sunnah normally? So in Mina, you shorten pray on the time. Arafah, shorten and join. Muzdalifah, shorten and join, right? So this fard. What about sunnah? There is no sunnah. There is no sunnat muakkada or ghair muakkada. You can pray nafil if you wish. You see, there is fard, there is sunnat muakkada, sunnat ghair muakkada, and there is nafil. So there is no sunnat muakkada, ghair muakkada. You know, the 12 rakat you pray in a day of sunnah, this is not there. But you can pray nafil if you wish. Any number, no problem, inshallah. Barakallahu. Wallahu a'lam. Apart from shortening of salah, can perform the rest? The same question, I think. Hajj badal. Okay, this question I answered on the group, on the Telegram Q&A or group. Someone asked me the same question. The same brother. Do I need to do two sacrifices, one for my sister? No, you do only one. If you're doing Hajj badal for someone else, even the sacrifice is for that someone else. Because the whole Hajj from start to finish is for someone else. So if I'm doing Hajj for Abdullah, okay, I'm doing Hajj badal for Abdullah, Tamattu or Qiran. So it has sacrifice. The sacrifice is also for Abdullah. I do only one sacrifice for him. I cannot do a sacrifice for myself. In Hajj, I cannot do this. I can't do it back home. I can ask someone, my brother, my sister, my cousin to do it back home. This is permissible, inshallah. I can do Udhiyah and Hajj in this case. Barakallahu fikum. Taib. Okay. Can we request the people who are going for Hajj and Umrah to pray for us? Okay, this is a long answer. See, ideally, brothers and sisters, you pray for yourself. Okay, like we said earlier, there's a common saying in the Urdu language. People, when you meet, when you depart, you just meet somebody, or you just come and not only for Hajj, anybody you meet anywhere on the street, dua mein yaad rakho. Remember me in your duas. Ya Sheikh, remember yourself in your own dua. Dua is a weapon we have, and nobody knows what I want more than myself. If I ask Abdullah, who is my friend, going for Hajj, make dua for me, he may not, he may forget. Even if it does, maybe the intensity, the passion will not be there. Because he doesn't know what I want and how badly I want it. So avoid this. This is a serious issue. This has come from Hinduism and other areas. I mean, yes, there is dalil for this. Yes, I'm not saying no. We have a dalil for this. But don't make it a habit. And the one you're requesting, from the dalil, the one you're requesting, this person should be righteous. It should be proven that he's mashallah, is a good person. You don't tell any Ira Gara, any Tom, Dick and Harry, make dua for me. No. That's not the dalil. The dalil is a righteous person. But don't make it a habit. This is not the habit of the Sahaba or Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Make your own duas. Now coming to Hajj and Umrah. Now you might think, okay, because this place is blessed, dua is accepted. Not necessarily. See, the place is blessed for the salawat. In Haram in Makkah you have 100,000 reward. In Medina you have 1,000. In Baitul Maqdis you have 500. But in Arafah, for example, on Yawm al-Arafah, yes, this is good. You can. But you can do the same thing for non-Haji. You're fasting. Make dua. So dua is always connected with time, right? Time, like between adhan and ikama, when it is raining, at the time of labor pains, last third of the night, always connected with time, not place. Barakallahu fikum. In sajda, huh? That's the time. Like Arafah, if I go today to Arafah and make dua, will it be accepted? No. It may be, but not with that intention, right? Because Arafah is the 9th Dhul Hijjah. It's time. So this should be avoided. If you wish, you may, but try to avoid this whole ideology and concept. Make your own supplications. But you may argue and say, Ustad, I'm a sinner, nobody will listen to my dua, Allah will not answer. Who doesn't sin? Everybody sins. Everyone sins. Anyone who says I'm sinless is a liar. Everyone sins. So if you're a sinner, seek forgiveness and ask dua. Alhamdulillah. Ideal opportunity. Allah says, ask of me and I will give you. Barakallahu fikum. Again, these other questions, I think I answered them on the group. So please check the Telegram Q&A. If you have brothers any questions, you can raise your hands. Let me see what is on the chat box quickly, inshallah. Can we change the niyyah of type of Hajj due to some circumstances? Yes, so we said we can change the niyyah. This is proven from the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha. This is possible, it's permissible. But in this case, if you have COVID and the government is not, I don't know, I'm not sure, I don't have the information. But if the government is not allowing you to do tamattu, don't make the niyyah of tamattu. Make the niyyah of Qiran or Ifrad, depending on whether you have a sacrifice with you or not. Kindly share the recorded lecture if possible. Yes, of course, the lectures will be uploaded onto my YouTube channel. Let me post the links again on the chat box so you have it with you. Sorry, where am I? Yeah. For this brother who asked me. So that's my Telegram group and this WhatsApp group as well. And this YouTube channel. The YouTube channel will have the recordings, the video recordings of this and all my other previous lectures and inshallah the future lectures, inshallah. Tayyib, barakallahu feekum, wallahu alam. If you stay more than 2 weeks, then do we have to do full salah or shortened salah? 2 weeks in Hajj, yeah, I guess you're asking about Hajj. So if a Haji comes, let's say in the beginning of Dhul Hijjah, yeah, and maybe he's making tamattu, so he enters Umrah, he does Umrah, he finishes, and he's still in Makkah, yeah, and see, another point, brothers and sisters, if you're doing tamattu, when you exit Umrah, when you finish Umrah and exit, you can't go back to your country. You can't let's say you are coming from Riyadh to Makkah. So I come in Dhul Hijjah, do Umrah, exit Umrah. I can't go back to Riyadh and then come back for the Hajj on 8th Dhul Hijjah. No. Yes, I can, but now tamattu is gone. It's invalid anymore. So the people doing tamattu, they have to stay in Makkah. They can't go to Jeddah. They can within the haram boundaries, right? But they can't go to their own country or own city or something like this. Maybe you have a brother living in Jeddah, you can visit them. You have a brother living in the outskirts of Makkah, you can visit him. No problem. This is okay. But you can't go back to the place you came from. Your family is there, basically. You're a mukim, you're a resident. No, you can't go to do that, right? That's one point I forgot to mention. But coming back to this point, so let's say the person comes, the Haji comes in Dhul Hijjah, and he's staying the whole month, so it's like 40 days, more than 2 weeks. Yeah. So what do we do? Normal salawat every day. He has to pray 5 times a day. Do we shorten? What do we do? Because he's a traveler, right? He's traveled there. There is a difference of opinion, brothers and sisters. The opinion of Sheikh bin Baz, rahimullah, and inshallah, a good opinion, sound opinion, is that any time you're traveling, not only for Hajj, any time you're traveling, and you're staying in the target city more than 4 days, you will pray normally. You will not shorten. You will pray the full salah normally. If it is less than 4 days, you will shorten. There is also the opinion that as long as you're a traveler, you're not gone back to your home country or home city, as long as you're a traveler, you can shorten. 4 days, 10 days, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, you can shorten. This is also an opinion. And this is also an opinion of some of the Sahaba. But some contemporary scholars, Sheikh Ibn Uthaymin, Sheikh bin Baz, may Allah have mercy upon them, they follow the 4-day opinion, which is also sahih. More than 4 days, you pray normally. Less than 4 days, you shorten. So Allahu Alam, you can choose whichever your heart is mutmain on. What about 2 sunnah before Fajr? Yes, sunnat muakkada, like we said. Sunnat Muakkad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, good question. Never missed, never missed. In traveling, without traveling. So this and witr you will pray. Jazakallah khair. This and witr you will pray, inshallah. Wallahu alam. Can I stay in Makkah for a day before leaving Mina on 12th and do Tawaaf al-Wadaa before leaving? Or should I do it? Hang on. Can I stay in Makkah for a day before leaving Mina? Okay, remember, brothers and sisters, when we say Tashreeq, I forgot to mention, subhanAllah. When we say 11th, 12th, and 13th of Tashreeq, Ayyam al-Tashreeq in Mina, the days of staying there, you have to spend the night there. In Mina, in your camp, at least half the night. So even if you wish to visit a relative in Makkah, you have to come back and spend at least half the night in Mina. Otherwise, that is not counted for you as staying in Mina. You have to stay. You have missed a wajib. You have to give dam, hadi. So you have to stay at least half the night in all these 3 nights. You may go and come. Staying the full night is best. But if you have some business, you want to visit a relative, a cousin, whatever, you can go and come back, but make sure you stay at least half the night in Mina, in your camp, in your tent. So can I stay in Makkah for a day before leaving Mina on 12th and do Tawaaf al-Wadaa before leaving, or should I do it immediately? I didn't understand. See, you're saying, can I stay in Makkah for a day before leaving Mina on 12th? No, you cannot. You have to stay in Mina. You can go in the morning and you can come back, no problem, inshallah. Like you went for Jamarat, you're storing on the 12th or 11th, you're storing Jamarat. You can go to Makkah and come back. The point is staying the night. If that's the question, the point is staying the night. Yes, you can outside in the daytime, you could be out. But brothers and sisters, try to spend these days remembering Allah. Don't waste them. Unless it's a very important meeting, you have to go, this is fine. But don't waste it shopping. You can do your shopping after 13th or some other time. These are the days of Hajj. Spend them in remembering Allah. Yeah. So try to maximize your time in worship of Allah. And Tawaaf al-Wadaa before leaving a day later, or should I do it immediately? I'm sorry, brother or sister, I didn't understand this question absolutely. I just tried to answer what I could understand. If you can rephrase it or use your microphone, if you're a brother, you can use your microphone, inshallah. Because Tawaaf al-Wadaa has to be the last act which you do before leaving Makkah. Okay. Jazakallah khair, you send it to me again. After staying in Mina, can I stay in Makkah for a day and then, okay. Now I get it. Jazakallah khair. So the person is asking, he or she stays in Mina for 11th and 12th, yeah, or 13th for that matter, yeah. But like we said, if 12th beyond Maghrib you're there, you have to spend 13th in Mina. You have to do stoning of 13th. So if you're leaving on the 12th, if you decide to leave on the 12th, leave before Maghrib, right? So after this, they want to go to Makkah. Alhamdulillah. So they finished on 12th, they finished the rituals of Hajj. They want to leave at Asr time on 12th or 13th, and they go to Makkah to meet someone for a day or spend some time there. And then they will do Tawaaf al-Wadaa, which is fine. No problem, inshallah. This is how it should be. Because Tawaaf al-Wadaa should be the last act you do before you leave Makkah. Last act you do before you leave Makkah. So you may go spend a day in Makkah with your relatives, spend some time shopping if you wish. But before you're leaving back to your city, back to your country, back to your town, you make Tawaaf al-Wadaa, the farewell Tawaaf, and then leave. Barakallahu feekum. Jazakumullah khairan. I don't see any other questions. Anybody have hands raised? No? Oh, mashallah. We have a big question here. Hang on. Okay. After 10th day, we have to after 10th day, we have to perform the full salah, or we have to shorten it. Okay. Yeah. So we are shortening and praying at its time in Mina on 8th Dhul Hijjah. On 10th Arafah, you're shortening and joining. Muzdalifah, the night of 10th in Muzdalifah, you're shortening and joining. 9th in Arafah, not 10th, 9th in Arafah, and the night of 10th Muzdalifah, you're shortening and joining. Now, the brother is asking, what about 11th, 12th, and 13th? What do I do? You're still in Mina, and you will shorten and pray on its time. You will shorten and pray on its time, like you did on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. Barakallahu feekum, wallahu a'lam. If a woman enters her Hayd and she takes Ihram, enters Ihram with the intention of Tamattu and from Miqat and proceeds to Mina directly, can she postpone her Tawaf as Ziyarah and combine with Tawaf Ifadah? Does she need to do tawaf twice with two intentions, or can she combine both the intentions? Yes. So we said if a sister makes an intention of tamattu from the miqat, like Aisha, al-Mu'minin radiyallahu anha, same example, same case. She left, so she had tamattu intention. Before entering Makkah, before entering Mina, she had her haid. Exactly the same question. She had her haid. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told her, change your niyyah to Kiran, because she was doing tamattu, which means she had her sacrificial animal with her, the hadi. So she can't do ifrad now. Because ifrad, what did we say? Ifrad, there is no sacrifice. Ifrad, there is no animal. So Rasulullah said, change your intention to Kiran. And she delayed her Tawaaf Ifadah, the Tawaaf of Hajj. And you can combine, yes, you can combine with Tawaaf al-Wadaa. So you do one Tawaaf. You make only one Tawaaf in the end of 12th or end of 13th when you're leaving Makkah. You make one Tawaaf with two intentions. One Tawaaf with two intentions. Taib. Just trying to think of another scenario. But yes, I hope it's clear, inshallah. Wallahu alam. So you make one tawaf with two intentions, inshallah. This is fine. Perfectly okay. Wallahu alam. Taib. All right. Anything else? I don't see any other questions. So, inshallah, we hope. I think some brothers and sisters are going for Hajj this year. And Sa'i. Okay. And Sa'i, yes, and Sa'i as well. And Sa'i, you will do the Sa'i of Hajj towards the end, also twice. No, because when you change your intention from tamattu to Qur'an, when you change your intention from tamattu to Qur'an, you have only one Sa'i, because Qur'an has only one Sa'i. Qur'an and Ifrad have one tawaf, one Sa'i. So you will do only one Sa'i. That's it. Wadaa, forget Umrah. You're no longer in tamattu now. The Umrah is gone. Wadaa, clear? So you will make only one tawaf and one Sa'i of Hajj. Keep the intention of Hajj. So even when you're doing the last Tawaaf of Wadaa, and you combine the intentions, Tawaaf Ifadah and Tawaaf Wadaa in one Tawaaf, the intentions are combined. Focus on that this is the Tawaaf we're doing of Hajj, of Tawaaf Ifadah. Barakallahu fikum. Okay. So, and for Sa'i, brothers and sisters, just a point on the side which comes to mind. For Sa'i, Tahara is not a condition. For Tawaf, yes. For Sa'i, if your wudu breaks while you're doing Sa'i, you can continue, no problem. So Tahara is not a condition for Sa'i, because the area of the Masa, the area between Safa and Marwa, the Masa area is outside the Masjid of Haram. It's outside. So you don't need to be in a state of wudu. Wallahu alam. Tawaf, yes, inshallah. Okay, I think that's about it for today then, for this series, inshallah. And we hope the brothers and sisters who are going will make dua to Allah to make it easy for them, to make them complete their Hajj rituals as per the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all the manasik, all the rituals, and we ask Allah to accept from them their deeds and place it on the scale on the day of judgment. And we ask Allah to make it a Hajj Mabrur for them, inshallah, which is Hajj acceptable, which means they come back sinless. They come back completely free of sin. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. No other questions? Sure? Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Allah kulli hal. Jazakumullah khairan. All good that I have said is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any mistakes I have made, because I could have made a lot of mistakes, are from me and from shaitan. So please forgive me for that. And inshallah, we'll see you again for the next workshop, which will be the Hadith 101, Science of Hadith, and some select Hadith. We'll look at that. And we will, I will let you know when it is, inshallah. Maybe not this weekend, maybe after the Hajj holidays, inshallah. So we'll look at that. And I hope the brothers got my YouTube link. Someone was asking for my YouTube channel link out there. If you want, I can repost it. Is it there? Yeah, it's the things we posted now. So if you didn't get it, that's there. I will post the recording of this and the previous sessions. We talked in detail about Hajj preparations and everything. So have a look at it if you missed it, especially if you're going for Hajj. Barakallahu feekum. Jazakumullah khairan. I hope this was beneficial. We'll see you then again, inshallah, in the next workshop, hopefully after 2 weeks. I will let you know on the group, Telegram and the WhatsApp group. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wa akhir da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.